Columbine rant number 4 and final video. I was talking about, you know, children and stupidity with this. A kid does not know at 15 and 17 the consequences of their actions if they've never really been in trouble. You know, I've watched my young friends be in trouble and go to reform school. My whole life changed knowing that my family members and cousins and friends were getting locked up for petty, dumb shit. And I knew right then and there, fist fighting in the streets wasn't really that bad compared to robbing people and stealing and doing the things that they did to get locked up in reform school. I will say I was blessed to never get caught for fist fighting. And I never really hurt anybody outside of using my fist. I've never cut anybody. I've never killed anybody. I've never beaten someone to death. I've come close to beating people the fuck to death, but I've never beaten them to death. And the thing with the Columbine kids, I don't think them because of their upground or their background or their upbringing or whatever the words I'm looking for. I don't think that they really knew what the consequences of death was. And there hasn't been a person on earth who was never muttered the words, I'm going to kill you. Not that they actually are, and not that they actually mean it. Or they might have meant it at the time, because I have a strong saying that if you said it, you meant it on some level or another. Doesn't mean you're actually going to carry out those thoughts or those actions, but you did mean it when you said it. I've said I'm going to kill you maybe 175 times in my lifetime before I even joined the fucking army. And in the army, it's one shot, one kill, we will. And they engrave that into your head in infantry at all turns of training, except for when you're in 12-hour class about your money and sexual harassment. So in Columbine, if these kids haven't had tough love or disciplinarian where, you punch somebody in the face, you go to the office. You punch somebody in the face the second time, you go to the office. You do it a third time, you get suspended. You do it a fourth time, you get expelled. Well, you know what? If they were anything like I was when I was a kid, detention 2 or 3 times, it's really not hurting me. It's just taking away a little bit of my time. You know, and expulsion or suspension, hell, to a kid, that's a fucking vacation. You know, and back when I was younger, before Columbine or during Columbine, they had entrapment camps for kids that would do bad, and they would send them off to places. Now in Charlottesville, we didn't really have that, but I read about it, and I used to watch 2020 and Dateline all the fucking time. So when I would hear about things like this, like, yeah, I don't really want to go there, because at one point, somewhere in California, and I was in my teens then, and it was before Columbine, some kids did some shit, and their parents sent them to fucking Samoa, and the guys at Samoa beat their ass. Among other things, with like military style training, the Samoans beat their kids' ass. And then it was like a big lawsuit. I can't remember the whole details and everything, because I think it was like 17, 16, 17. This is a long damn time. It was like 91, 92, somewhere in there. Whenever the hell I was 16 or 17, it's been so damn long. Doesn't seem like it, but it's been that long. And it was all over Dateline. Because I want to say the shaggy haired older fella. It wasn't Chris Hansen. Damn it, what the hell is the guy's name? I don't know who the fuck he is, but he was a white fella. And he did the report about it, and then also back then they were still doing sex trafficking and everything like that. So, like I said, if these kids would have been sent to that camp, they probably would have came home and shot people up anyway. But I don't think that they had enough self-control or mental discipline to fight through the bullying. And that's probably what led them to shooting people. It's like I said, I was bullied. There wasn't a day that I went to high school and hadn't thought, how am I going to kill this motherfucker today? And how am I going to stop him from bullying me? And if I stop him, will it stop everyone else? The answer is yes. Because if you take out the ringleader, everybody else will either attempt to fight you or leave you the fuck alone. There really is no out, other than, as a guy, yeah, I can't speak from the girl's point of view, because female bullying is like some new thing that started happening when I got in like my 20s. Like, what? Girls bully people? I never knew that, except for I did get bullied by a girl in the 12th grade. But I have a cousin or two who kind of handled that. And they got a hold of her and made her cry for about 2 or 3 months before I let them back up off of her. But it just wasn't my policy to hit a girl in the face. But she could pick on me in our drama class. It's like, I got somebody for you. Don't worry about it. Keep talking your shit. I got 2 girls that will handle your shit. One is from the country, and one of them is just like me. She's been fighting since she was 6 years old. So fighting ain't nothing to her. Fighting is like breathing water. We're both still the same damn way, and we're in our 40s. So yeah, hey, ready to go? Let's do it. So for the Columbine kids, the new generation, you guys that are coming up now, and I hope like hell you are learning discipline. I know you will never forget what happened to put your school on the map. I know you will never forget that, ever. There's a plaque not too far from your school to remind you in case you do. You must all learn how to respect each other. You must learn how to treat each other well, because if you don't, this shit can happen again. And they say lightning don't strike twice. Don't believe that shit. Blacksbird's been hit 3 times with students doing exceptionally dumb shit. If we as adults can't teach you kids how to get on the right track, what's going to happen when your generation procreates and you can't teach your kids what we couldn't teach you? It's just going to be fucking genocide. Everybody's going to probably click on this and say, James, you're an asshole. You're a fucking dick. You're insulting all the victims and the dead and all this stuff. Yes. Yes, I probably am. But here's the thing about that. If you learn from this video, then I've done my fucking job. If kids going to Columbine today watch this video and post that shit up everywhere and I go fucking viral, I've done my fucking job. Because that way, they won't go around and bully other kids and make them come to school with motherfucking machine guns and shoot up their friends. And I'm gonna tell you, as a victim of high school bullying, I don't excuse it. I don't condone it. I don't excuse it. And it is totally wrong to come to school and shoot up anybody, even if they're bullying the fuck out of you. I will condone this. And I'm gonna say this, and I condone it. I don't give a fuck who doesn't like it, because it is wrong, and I own it. If I'm being bullied in school, and I can catch just one of them motherfuckers by themselves, I'm going to beat the brakes off that sumbitch. And you might not like it. And the guys that bullied me have been so blessed that I never caught them. Ever. Some of them have taken up martial arts. Good. That's just going to make it better for me. Because you can take up a martial art. But I am the martial arts. It's all I know. And if I could have caught any of them at any time by themselves, like I did before, and not be pulled away from them by my cousin, who saved their asses, they wouldn't be here. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because I was a victim of high school bullying. Now, you may think that I'm telling you this in a means of defending these assholes that shot up the other kids. No. I'm telling you this because every story has 3 sides. I can't play victim, but I can play victim because I was the victim. I never bothered these fuckers. They took it amongst themselves, as I said in the other 3 videos, to pick on me because either of my ethnic heritage, or because I'm short, because I didn't play sports, and because I wasn't getting any pussy. I said that at least 3 times on the other videos. I wasn't getting any pussy. I'll say it again. I was not having sex. And if I was lucky enough to have sex, it was probably a mercy fuck. Girls wouldn't give me a second look. There you go. Honesty is always the best policy. Plus, I was always about a relationship. And back then, if a girl dated me, it was to piss off her dad, because she wasn't dating a black guy, but she was dating a guy who was half black. So it's still half, which is more than enough to piss off daddy. Back to Columbine. You kids, you victims that survived, I'm grateful that you are breathing. But none of y'all have ever come forward to say what y'all did to the people that shot at you, and that wounded you, and it hurt you. And I know amongst you, whether you want to admit it or not, one of you had to know someone that set them off. And to the families of the 13 that are dead, I apologize if this sounds wrong. But as a victim of bullying who has wanted to come to school and cut a couple of people's throats with a samurai sword, or put a bow and arrow through their chest. Somebody did something, which is why they're not here now. Which is why whatever hopes and dreams you had for them are gone. Because we cannot watch our kids 24 hours a day. All we can do is the best that we can to make them decent people in society. The Mother Tonight on 2020 was trying that. But it's funny how no one pointed that out. It's funny how no one said, maybe my kid may have had something to do with his own demise. Maybe my kid couldn't take any more bullying. And I'm telling you, the only reason Columbine happened is because of school bullying. Because of kids that were like me that was ostracized because we're different. We're mutants. We're freaks. We're geeks. We don't fit in. We don't belong there. Why don't we belong there? We bleed like your kids bleed. We have 5 fingers and 5 toes. Some of us are in wheelchairs. Some of us have mental handicaps. Some of us have reading disabilities. My problem? I had a reading disability. You think I didn't get picked on that from freaking middle school on up? Lots of my bullies picked on me because of my reading disability. My dyslexia. My shortness. My inability to get pussy. And other things. And yeah, this is probably some vulgar shit that can come out my mouth. But it is also some true shit. None of my high school bullies really meant I'm sorry when they said it. Because to be sorry, to truly be sorry, you earn your redemption. You can say you're sorry many times. But if you meant it in the first place, you would have never ever have done that. I don't have to say sorry to people because anything I've done, I meant to do it. And I own it. Anything I've said, I meant to say it and I own it. Now, I have been known to be quite hypocritical. I own that. Because sometimes telling the truth, you kind of got to go against the shit that flies out your mouth. And sometimes that makes you a hypocrite. I'll own that. I will be the fucking hypocrite. But I just said I own it. And the thing with Columbine, no one wants to own. If these kids were bullied, no one's coming out and saying it. Because why in the hell else would anybody just come to your school and shoot the fuck out of y'all? There has to be a reason behind it. But yeah, everybody wants to hate the mother. Everybody wants to hate the shooters. And I understand that. I respect that completely. Everybody wants to pity the victims. I pity the victims. But I also want the truth. I want the truth because as a victim of high school bullying, I'll say it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. There has not been a day from fucking Walker Elementary School through Buford to CHS that I was not bullied. That I did not want to take a pair of nunchucks to school and go to fucking town on these guys. But I had mental discipline through Kung Fu, which kept me from doing it for a long time. And in the 11th grade, I just snapped. But I didn't use my nunchucks. I stood outside in the hallway in B Commons at the top floor above the cafeteria waiting for those 7 motherfuckers to come out that door and rumble. One against all. I didn't care. One way or another, it was going to end that day. And it did. Until the 12th grade, where I had to deal with a girl and a blonde boy. They kept fucking with me. And Mr. Gordy Hay, thank you wherever you are. You stopped me from killing that little bastard so that I could graduate with my class of 93. It could have worked out a whole lot differently if I would have had access to a gun. No, it could have worked out a whole lot differently. I didn't have access to a gun. I had access to nunchucks. They were convenient, and I knew how to work them very well. If you see any of my other videos, you can see that I know my shit. So like I said, while we're all hating the shooters and mourning the victims, which is okay, because I don't hate the shooters, and I do mourn the victims. But the shooters were probably victims, which is why they made other people victims. Victims tend to victimize other people. It's the same cycle with people who have been raped or people who have been molested. They tend to grow up and become rapists or molesters. And it has been psychologically proven. And you can ask any psychiatrist. You can Google the shit. You can read it anywhere if you're willing to put the time in. Yeah, especially if you're going to insult this video. I'm sure you will. I'm not going to come back and look at them, so it doesn't even fucking matter. If you don't look at all 3 sides, everything is not one-sided. There is black and white and the gray and the middle. And generally, if you go down the middle with the gray, you will find the truth. So before I close out, I want to first apologize to anybody that are watching these 4 videos and that I've pissed you off. And at the end of that apology, there's a big fat fuck you. Okay? I'm sorry, but fuck you. Because why did I do it that way? I'm going to tell you why I did it that way. Because before you can go 100% with the victims, which you can, you have your opinion to that. If you've never been bullied and you've never not once wanted to take a gun to school and shoot somebody, and if you haven't seen the Basketball Diaries or whatever that Leonardo DiCaprio movie is that came out before the Columbine thing, then you're full of shit. If you've never ever said you wanted to kill someone, you're full of shit. So take your shit and go. For those who are like me, who have been bullied and have been victimized of bullying, do not become what you hate. Do not bully people. Do not attack people. Do not become something that you can't go back from. I was a street fighter before I was a martial artist. Now I'm a martial artist, a street fighter, and an ex-military man. I'm a walking machine gun, basically. I am a walking weapon. I have been trained to kill people in my sleep because that's what the military does. Before that, I was a martial artist. As a martial artist, I was also trained by a Green Beret. So before I was in the Army, I was in the Army. So I have learned how to manifest my anger in more polite ways, focusing on my old habits of drawing. Since I can't do Kung Fu anymore, I picked up a bow and arrow. Granted, I done shot the shit out of my shed, but I picked up a hobby and an outlet. So if you're being bullied and you're watching this video, for God's sake, pick up an outlet and a hobby. Do not pull the Columbine. If you're thinking that badly, go get some help. And if your parents can't help you, get them to get you a psychiatrist. And if that can't help you, then I'm going to give you one piece of advice that I probably should not give you. Move to a different area and try not to be victimized by other people. But you have to let it out. But do not let it out by killing other people. I stay angry 24/8. 24 hours a day, 8 days a week. And I know there's only 7 days in a week, so don't quote me on that. But I stay angry. I stay angry more than ever. So if I'm like this, yeah, I'm fixing to hurt somebody. And sometimes a smile is not always a smile. Sometimes it's secretly a smirk and a plan that I'm going to fuck you up. So my advice, and take this all-heartedly, before you decide to do anything stupid and go get a gun and shoot people up in school because they're picking on you, think it through. Talk about it. And more importantly, remember your family members that you leave behind. And I'd probably say, in closing, since I'm almost at the 20-minute mark and I'm going to close this out, I think that the main reason why I didn't do anything like that in Columbine when I was in high school is because I thought about my mom and my 6 siblings that I would have been leaving behind. Not to mention my other 2 siblings on my dad's side. So my 8 siblings that I would have been leaving behind. And how my family would probably have to suffer greatly because I did something stupid. These kids probably didn't have that thought, when they went to school and cocked back the firing pin and clicked off the safeties and decided that they were going to pull a Contra. They probably didn't think about what would happen to their parents or their family, socially or metaphorically. And, when you don't think about your actions or you don't think about the people you leave behind to clean up your fucking mess that you make, it's a different ball game out there. So, I'm probably the only person on earth who's not angry at the parents of the kids that shot up the other kids at Columbine. Now, I know that sounds wrong, and I'm not angry at her. You know why? She did not put a gun to her kid's head and send them to school with a loaded machine gun to kill them. Those kids did that themselves. That is not their parents' fault. Now, granted, you can't always discipline your kids, and you never know when the fuck you're going to be on the other end of that spectrum. So before we toss stones at this woman, what are your kids doing right now? While you're watching me, what are your kids doing? while you're judging her, what are your kids doing? You don't know because you can't watch them while you're at work. You can't pick their friends. You can't pick anybody in this universe. You can't pick your family, but you can pick your friends, and you can pick what you choose to do with your life. If you choose to do something stupid, that's your fault. You can't get mad at anyone else for it. You can only get mad at yourself. So in closing, pick your friends wisely. Talk to your parents. If you're being bullied, shame is okay. It's okay to be ashamed. It's okay to be scared. But don't bottle that shit up. And don't let your friend talk you into getting a machine gun and going to school and shooting people. That shit is not okay. So what I'm going to tell you is, as a martial artist, I've been ashamed. I've been bullied. And if I'm man enough to admit that shit right here, right now, then you all should be man enough to go to your parents and sit down and tell them, Dad, I have been bullied in school and I don't know how to handle it. I want to punch the guy in the face, but I don't want you to get mad at me for doing it. That's pretty much the conversation right there. If you're my kid, I'm going to put it to you like this. Okay, as long as he doesn't touch you, don't pay attention to the shit. He's either going to leave you alone, he's going to keep doing it until you punch him in the face. And if you get to the point where you have no choice but to punch him in the face, I love you. Punch that motherfucker in the face. But if he's bigger than you and you don't think you can beat him, punch him in the nuts first. And then take his head and ram your knee through his face. And then when you get him on the ground, you stand on his neck until he turns black or blue. Because if he can't breathe, he can't hurt you. I'll handle the legal problem when that situation arises. But until then, ignore him for as long as you can. And if you can't ignore him anymore, then by force or by course, and yes, that's from the Army, by force or by course, you're going to make him leave you alone. And if his parent has something to do with the problem, then they'll deal with me. And then what I told you to do, I'm going to do to their parents. And that's going to solve a lot of problems because I'm pretty sure that nobody fucked with Bruce Lee after they found out who he was if they were bothering Shannon or Brandon. I'm pretty sure that when they knocked on Mr. Lee's door and they found out, oh, it's Bruce Lee. This is the baddest motherfucker on the planet. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to fuck with him. I'm sure nobody's fucking with Mike Tyson's kids either. So, they're not going to fuck with mine. Because I'm on the internet and everybody who's watched me by now and everybody who's related to me knows that I know my shit. And I am the best at what I do. And sometimes, if I may quote Wolverine, sometimes what I do isn't very nice. Now, granted, I'm a little older now. And my leg isn't exactly normal anymore. That does not change the fact that I was made a 100% killing machine by the United States fucking Army. So if I gotta do what I gotta do, so be it. But I'm going to use these things here. And if this foot can rise up, you better believe somebody's going down. If a person can't breathe, they can't hurt you. So, my advice to my child would be, if they're bigger than you, nuts, throat, face. If they can't breathe, they can't hurt you. They can't stand, they can still fuck you up. So your job is by force or by course to make them stop. Sometimes you have to break some rules. Daddy's not going to be mad at you. Just try not to kill the motherfucker while you're doing it. And if it's my little girl and she's being bullied by a boy or a girl, I have one option for her. 2 words. Fuck it. The option is beat their ass. Your girl. What they gonna say? The boy got his ass beat by a hot chick? They should be so honored. There you go. So, when you guys are judging me and thinking about what I said about Columbine and what I just said about what I would do for my child if they're getting bullied, it's okay to judge me harshly. You are entitled to your opinion. It's why I put on my dog tags every fucking day. So that when you go to sleep at night, me and every other motherfucker that's ever signed up for the military, we're dying for your ass. Even if you're a fucking bully. So you can think of me however you want. And if you're going to cyberbully me because you know full fucking well that we're never going to meet and I will never find you to whoop your ass, it's cool. But what you're doing if you're cyberbullying? The same dumbass shit. But eventually, there will be laws against you people. There will be laws against people who cyberbully and catfish. And I want to be there that day when they bust all you motherfuckers. And there's also a special place in hell for you. Just like I'm pretty sure that everybody who was a victim of Columbine is thinking that there's a special place in hell for those guys that shot up their friends and killed them and shot them. And they're probably right. But don't step too far, because they might not be the only ones in that special place in hell, because the truth will come out eventually. When we all leave this world and join the great continuum or the collective that the good Lord has set up for us, unless we all die and burn and go to hell, we will learn the truth about all events in life and why they happen. So you think about that shit. Before you go bullying anybody, before you go doing anything dumb, you think that shit through. And you think it over well. Because you never know when you could be on the broad side of that. Or you never know when you're going to go out and do something stupid and your family's going to have to be just like this woman tonight, where no one wants to forgive her. And she's trying her damnedest to redeem herself for the actions of her son. I'm sorry if you guys think that I'm wrong for saying that I don't think she's got nothing to redeem. She's just as much a victim as the victims' families are. Because she didn't wake up that morning thinking that her son was going to go to school and do something incredibly fucking stupid. No one does. So you think about that, because you never know when your kid is going to go to school and do something incredibly fucking stupid. You think about that before you cast stones at this lady. And y'all might not like me playing devil's advocate, but everything I said is more closer to right than wrong. I can't talk to ghosts, but I can tell you this. Those guys aren't resting peacefully. They're not. And the 13 victims probably aren't resting peacefully either. And as long as we're blaming everybody, no one's ever going to rest peacefully. When you get down to the bottom of the matter, when you get down to the truth of it to see why they did it, then they will all rest peacefully. I hope you all rest peacefully. And hopefully it won't be by force or by course. And you will all get decent sleep. And you will all learn from this video to have empathy and sympathy and be good to each other. This is where the problem lies. Until we all try to see eye to eye, there's always going to be problems. So until then, this is Kung Fu Havoc 2. I'm James Williams Jr. Good night.